Hello friends, welcome to episode 130. I'm Kathie and I'm really excited that you've chosen to join me today. We're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to do things a little differently. If you've been following any of my TikTok videos or Facebook Live on the Unity Consulting Facebook page, or my Reels, those are videos, that's like a new term I had to learn. If you've followed any of those videos or if you've seen any of my posts, you may have seen that I've been chosen to be one of 40 people to take a look at a new book that will not be available to anybody else for another 5 weeks. This book is by John Maxwell. If you're watching the video, I'm showing a picture here. It's called The 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication. So today I want to share with you some things that's in this book. Let's just call this our book club. I'm going to share with you some things that have really stood out for me. I like to write my books, so I always have a pen and a pencil handy. This is what I'm highlighting. This is what's connecting with me. You know what? If I'm given this opportunity, I want to share, and they're allowing me to share any of this information to just get everybody excited about this powerful book that's available. You know, one of the taglines related to this book, it's on the back cover actually, and it says, "Everyone has a message to share." And that's so true. So when you look at the title, The 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication, we all communicate. You don't have to be a speaker or podcaster or videographer or whatever. I guess I'm not a videographer, I'm in videos. You don't have to do any of that. You can just have a conversation with your neighbor, a stranger. Just talking is communicating. So these 16 laws that are in here are kind of like 16 tips. Now, John Maxwell is near and dear to my heart. I get to see him about twice a year, maybe even a few more times. I get to have conversations with him, but it goes back like 25 years. The blessing that he gave me. He opened my eyes to something that I didn't think I really liked. And that's the love of reading. Now, when I was younger, I wasn't exactly a strong reader. If you saw my post the other day, this past Monday was John Maxwell's birthday. February 20th is John Maxwell's birthday, and it's also National Leadership Day, appropriately positioned on that day, right? But on his birthday, I wrote a post that just talked about my struggle with reading. When I was in 5th grade, I was demoted to a lower reading group. And that really hit me hard because I always want to be the best. And I knew that my reading skills were not the best. And I also knew that I really didn't enjoy it. I didn't like reading the stories in our reading books. I thought they were quite dumb, to say the least. I just didn't enjoy it. I could never figure out the moral of the story. Well, I guess if you don't read the book or read the chapter, you don't know the moral of the story. So I struggled. And I struggled all the way through high school, through college. I mean, I read Little House on the Prairie books, and I enjoyed those, but that was about it. And it wasn't like I was reading a book a week. I was barely reading a book every 3-4 months. So the struggle was real until I was about 27 years old. And at that point, I was doing a lot of traveling for work, and I was walking through an airport one day on my way to Denver, Colorado, and I saw a book. And I loved the title of it. It was called Thinking for a Change. Or maybe it was called Thinking for a Change. Isn't that fun? You could put an accent on a different piece of that phrase and it means something different. I loved the play on words, so I bought the book. I don't like to read. And I bought this book. It was about the same thickness as the book I have in my hand, maybe, 1.5 inches thick, and it was by John Maxwell. And for the first time in my life, I read a complete book in 1 week. While I was in Denver, I had training during the day. At night, I would just sit and consume the book. And by the time I got home, I was so excited about it. I shared it with my husband. He read it, which he's a reader, but he grabbed a hold of the content. And this is why I so appreciate John and his writing, because it connects with me. And what I realized at that point is for so many years, I was reading the wrong type of book. I don't mind fiction. I might read 1 or 2 fiction books a year, but that's not really what I love. I love books that I can do something with the content. The personal development books, the leadership books, do exactly that. So that's why I gravitated toward John Maxwell. And plus, the things he writes about, I agree with, I can relate to, I truly connect to everything he writes. So that's why I'm so honored and so excited that I get to take a look at this new book before everybody else. And that's why I'm sharing with you. So I have six little flags in my book. I'm not done. I'm about maybe a third of the way there so far. So I'm just going to share with you what I'm taking away. What am I writing in my book so far? So the first little flag here takes us to the first chapter, the law of credibility. I'm just going to read the tagline of this chapter. The law of credibility. Your most effective message is the one you live. Oh, a lot of accountability right there. Well, in one of the first sections, he talks about the qualities of a credible communicator. And one of the qualities is to be consistent. So the thing that I underlined says, what you repeatedly do tells others who you are. So just think a moment. What do you repeatedly do? What are you consistent with? Maybe it's a word you say. Maybe it's a word you don't say. Maybe it's a physical activity. I think about swear words. I just don't really like them, and I get annoyed every time that they're in a book. They seem to be becoming more popular in books. And I heard somebody say one time that she hates swear words because it shows how uncreative you are. We are creative beings that can find a better word than a swear word. But think of it this, what do you repeatedly do? Because that tells other people who you are. Right next to it is another underline here. It says, nothing is easier than saying words. Nothing is harder than living them day after day. I want to be healthy. I want to think differently. Those are core values for me. But am I exercising? Am I doing what I say I'm doing? My friend Shellen is really good at calling me out when I am not thinking differently. When I'm not thinking like a green light story, when I'm thinking kind of negatively and whining. I'm so thankful. So thankful. Thank you, Shellen, for calling me out when you do, because I need to be called out. I want to be living what I say. I want to be doing what I say. Okay, so that's why I underlined it. That resonated with me. My next little tag here is also in the law of credibility. And in this one says, first and foremost, you must speak to benefit others. So this one's talking about being trustworthy. And this one really spoke to me because I do a lot of speaking. I enjoy speaking. But first and foremost, you must speak to benefit others. I'm not here just to talk. I'm here truly to share tips with you, to share ideas with you, to challenge you, challenge your thinking so that we are all better. We are all truly using all of that amazing potential we have within us. So first and foremost, I'm not here to benefit myself. I'm here to benefit others. I hope I'm benefiting you. All right, my next little flag here, this is really fun. It's still in the law of credibility, talking about making the connection. And here's what's written in the middle of the page. It says, your thoughts, which help you prepare your content, your feelings, which inspire the delivery of your content, and your actions, which give credibility to your content. You do this by connecting. Well, that sounds really familiar. And if you are by chance watching the video, if you look over my shoulder, you will see a picture behind me. That is the thought cycle. So if you've listened to any other podcasts or any other of my teachings, I'm really adamant about thought intelligence. Our thoughts create our emotions, which create our actions, which create our results, which recreates more thoughts. And the wheel and the spinning just goes round and round. So we better have positive thoughts, what I like to call green thoughts. Well, right here, John is using like my words and my content right here in his book. Isn't that fun? I even wrote TQ right next to that paragraph because that means thought intelligence. Okay, that brings me credibility and that brings me relief when I can see some content that I preach and teach right here in other people's books. All right, let's move on to chapter 2, the law of observation. Good communicators learn from great communicators. Here's a quote that I underlined, and this is coming from the Hall of Fame baseball player Yogi Berra. He says, you can observe a lot by just watching. I'm going to pause a minute and let you think about that. You can observe a lot by just watching. It reminds me of another quote that I've heard. You sure can hear a lot when you just stop and listen. Isn't that powerful? Isn't that fun? How often do I listen, but I'm thinking while I'm listening? Or how often am I thinking while I'm watching? Well, you can observe a lot by just watching. All right, we're going to stay within that chapter, the law of observation. Warren Buffett said this, much of what you become in life depends on whom you choose to admire and copy. And that really reminds me of the law of the inner circle. That's one of the 21 laws, the irrefutable laws of leadership. It matters who you hang around. You know, when my kids were younger, it mattered who their friends were. It matters all the time who your friends are and who do you spend the most time with, because you're going to take on their qualities. So here, what Warren Buffett is saying is much of what you become in life depends on whom you choose to admire and copy. You're going to become like the people you admire and copy. So choose wisely. Choose wisely in the people that you connect with. You know, think about your binge watching, or who do you search online? Who do you read about? Do you read the tabloids? Do you read the newspaper? What are you consumed with? Because it matters. All right, last tip for you. We're going to move to the law of preparation. I like the law of preparation. I think preparation is extremely important in life. The tagline for this law, you cannot deliver what you have not developed. Just like anything, you can't deliver if you haven't properly planned. The Chinese have always believed 80% plan, 20% do. If you have 10 hours in your day, seriously, take 8 hours to plan. Just plan. And with all of that planning, it will only take you 2 hours to get it done. Think about when you pack a car for vacation or when you pack clothes in a suitcase. I personally like to lay out everything on a bed so I can see it all before I start packing it in a suitcase. That's part of my planning. Okay, so law of preparation. Here's what I found. Okay, so this is where John is talking about what do we want people to see? Well, we want people to see their possibilities. So here he says, when people see their possibilities, their world expands. I want to help people shift from asking, can I, to how can I? The question, can I, is filled with doubt. The question, how can I, is positive and determined. It encourages problem solving and action. Oh, on the next page, he says, this empowers your audience. He, again, is speaking my language. This is my purpose statement. My purpose statement is to challenge your thinking. Challenge your thinking so you're more efficient and empowered in your life. John Maxwell has taken my content and put it in his amazing book. Isn't he wonderful? Well, that just proves, though, it's not my content, right? It's not John's either. It's just so relevant and real in this world. It is a law of communication, an undeniable law of communication. That just takes us through chapter 4 of this book. So, stay tuned to future TikTok videos or podcast episodes because I'll continue to share with you what I'm learning, what I'm growing. But definitely mark on your calendar March 28th. That's the day that this book will be available to everybody. And I encourage you, if you speak to anybody, I encourage you to check it out. I hope that this has enlightened you today. I hope it's helped you think differently about a few things. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next week.